Hello, Luscious Ones. I'm Zine Lafontaine of The Sensual Revolution, and welcome to episode 12 of the Luscious Monday Motivation. Today, I want to demystify the concept of self-pleasure. So, stay with me for a moment here as I explore the idea of going to massage therapy, right? It's easy enough to have the conversation with our friends and our family about going to have a massage somewhere, right? We can talk about really preferring a soft touch or really preferring a firmer grip or a particular style of massage. And it's easy enough to really have this conversation in an open public fashion. But the minute we start talking about sensual massage or tantric massage, then the whole energy shifts, right? But when we speak about massage therapy, which is a very intimate practice, there is connection with the skin, there is the experiencing of pleasure with another person. It is much more normalized to experience and to talk about. My mentor, Layla Martin, once spoke about being convinced that if everyone learned how to self-pleasure consciously, we could totally heal the world. Now, by consciously, what I mean here is by being fully aware about what's going on as it comes up in our body. It could mean by setting an intention, for example. So moving into self-pleasure with the intention of healing, right? A lot like when you go for a massage, you can go with the point of healing, with the point of relaxing our body, with the intention of connecting to a deep sense of self-love around our body, of self-care, of nourishment. And self-pleasure brings the same exact things, in addition to others, where, for example, self-pleasure can really help us increase our levels of energy, a type of energy that we can bring into the rest of our life on a daily basis. So what we really want to start healing here is this blanket of shame or fear that's been instilled from our religion, from our culture, from our society for so long, right? I always find it funny because it's almost in certain circumstances like somebody's going to discover that we're actually sexual beings underneath the surface. And so I know I'm a sexual being. I know you're a sexual being, but we're not going to talk about that. We're going to just set that aside. And the curiosity is around, what is that thing, that blanket that prevents us from being able to have that conversation just as easily as going to have a massage? And this comes from that blanket of shame, that blanket of fear that's been instilled in most of us. For centuries, it has been dangerous for us to be fully expressed as sexual beings in our identity, in our empowerment. There are times when, for women, sexuality led us to get locked up, to get burned at the stake. And so, no kidding, our sexuality is so shut down now. So not only are we working with our current lifetime, our current landscape, so any trauma that we may have experienced in our body around the landscape of where it still is dangerous to be a fully expressed sexual being in certain areas of the world, in our own backyard around sexual identity, but we're adding on the generations of shame and fear around sexuality. So as a sexuality coach, what we do is we help unpack some of these layers. We help soften some of the tensions, the repression, the stress cycles that are occurring in the body. We help rewrite some of the stories into one that is so much more empowering, just like I'm doing with you today. And we help ask the question, where am I disconnecting? Where am I not feeling fully in my body? And disconnection can look like a whole lot of different things. It can look like being in our head instead of feeling fully in our body. It can look like being in fantasy obsessively, like not being able to feel pleasure unless we're in a particular external idea as opposed to fully experiencing what is going on in our body. It can look like obsessively watching porn with this blanket of shame around us instead of feeling what's actually going on with our body. Because when we ask these questions, we start identifying where those blankets are lying, where those protective layers are lying, And those are the areas that prevent us from feeling the full capacity of pleasure that our body allots us. We have this body with such a huge capacity for pleasure, and this is how we reach our states of ecstasy. It's not by disconnecting or by trying to be something else, right? We can encounter this sometimes even in highly sexual communities. There's also a disconnection that happens. Just because someone is very actively sexual doesn't necessarily mean that they're fully conscious of what's going on within their sexuality. And so it's by feeling fully everything that's in the moment, even the discomforts, even the emotions that arise. It can be sadness, it can be rage, it can be just anything that arises during a sexual practice, as opposed to trying to stuff it or be something else, or try and act a different way, or try and hide a different way. And you know, the range of what we can experience in our external life is a true mirror of our capacity to experience inside. So it's not until we unlock all of those things inside that we will truly unlock all the experiences, the sensations, the ecstasy we want to experience in our life. So the more we liberate in here, the more we liberate out here. Self-pleasure is a beautiful medicine, and the way that we self-pleasure can be a really great mirror for how we face some of the challenges that we encounter in life, right? So do we tend to avoid it entirely? Do we tend to go really fast and, disconnect as much as possible and get it over with? Or what happens when we actually start slowing down the practice of self-pleasure? Experiencing everything that arises, remaining present, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's too much, or even when it's not enough or not what we expect, right? Same way that we can face our challenges. And so when we start to work with the medicine of self-pleasure, we start to experience those things mirrored in the rest of our life. And this is powerful. It can lead to vibrancy, it leads to empowerment, it leads to the liberation of ourselves, of our sexuality, but of our whole selves inside of our body. So feeling vibrant, energized, ignited, and present in your body feels like the next step for you. If you feel like you're ready for this, I've got a free 7 days of self-play challenge coming up, and it begins on June 22nd. This challenge is for women and men of all identities, and I'm super excited to be offering variations on every day of the challenge for couples. So this is a great opportunity for couples to really reconnect. So when you connect in self-pleasure, something happens, a spice happens, an ignition happens, and it is really beneficial for a couple. So you are more than welcome and invited into the challenge as well. You can find the link to this free challenge in my Let's Get Sensual link in the Instagram profile if you're on Instagram, or the link will be below the video if you are on Facebook or if you are on YouTube. I am very much looking forward to this challenge. I'm Zine Lafontaine of The Sensual Revolution. I'm sending you sexy vibrations all over, and I will see you very soon.